Fellow Toastmasters, I've got a bit of a quirky question to ask you. What were you doing on October 24th, 2022? So a little bit over a year ago. Probably have no idea, right? But there was something very important that day. It was 7 days before Halloween. Toronto had a citywide event. Does anyone know what I'm talking about? It was an election. Yes, Des, thank you. How many people were voting that day in that election, city election, for mayor, for your councilors, for your school trustees? Not a lot of hands going up in the room. Well, guess what? If you didn't vote that day, you are not alone. The reason this day is so important in Toronto history is the record low voter turnout. What do you think that number was? 20%. Okay, we're getting a range from 10 to 35%. But it was 29%. Brian, always great with numbers. 29%. So that is less than 1 in 3 people voted in that election. It's embarrassingly low. Now, some people say that election was already way decided. We had a mayor running for his 3rd term. We already knew he was going to win. Maybe voting for your counselor doesn't matter. What does a school trustee even do? But still really bad, right? A few months later, that mayor resigned. And a few months after that, we had another election. Wide open race. Anyone could be mayor. And I think a lot of people put their hat in the ring. We did see the voter turnout improve, thankfully. But it was only 34%. Still pretty low that day. Our last provincial election was also a record low turnout. The previous record low, 2011, 48%. Our last provincial election, less than 44% people voted. I see a pattern developing here. Not a lot of people engaged in voting in our elections. Is this a problem? I kind of think it is. Now, why don't people vote? Now, I think a lot of people, they just can't vote for one reason, right? We have people who are, not citizens, might be permanent residents, might be deciding if they want to be a permanent resident. And that's fine. But there's still, when we give those numbers, it's of the eligible people who can vote. It's kind of up for the people who can to especially get out there for the people who can't. A lot of people think that their vote doesn't matter, and they also think that politics is just toxic. They don't want to deal with it. There's so much negative things going on in our lives. We're struggling with a work-life balance. We don't have time to deal with something negative like politics. If you hear the word of someone's being political, is that a good thing or is that a bad thing? Generally around the office or amongst your friends, that's an insult. That means this person is conniving, they're doing something a little bit untoward. And you know what? If that's what you think of politics, you're 100% right. Politics is incredibly toxic. It's very divisive, and every single thing is set up in our society to keep it that way. Media wants to focus on divisive issues, things that will cause controversy because controversy keeps people engaged. Political parties want to find wedge issues to differentiate themselves, to cause a lot of people to be angry and upset with someone else, so they'll be motivated to support them. And also to fundraise money, because that's what motivates people to donate too. On top of that, artificial intelligence plus algorithms that control our news feeds as we're scrolling through social media have the same motivations to enrage us in order to engage us. So that's what we're dealing with in our society today. But that doesn't have to be what politics is. What is democracy? It's ruled by the people. Guess what? We're the people. If we want something to change in our society, we can make that change. We can decide to do that. And guess what? Everyone in this room, what's the slogan for Toastmasters? Where leaders are made. I'm not asking you to vote, because some of you can't. And that's even the lowest, just the bare minimum for a functioning democracy. I don't want your vote, I want your voice. I want you to think about what it is that you want to change in society, what things you want to make better in the world around you. They can be little things, like you want just less garbage on the street. They can be big things, like housing, and they can affect people locally, just around you, or across the entire world. But we have to have those conversations between us, because if we don't have the conversations about the things that matter to us, we're just going to hear conversations about things that divide us, that tear us apart. Everyone here is going to give me a little evaluation later. So that means you all have a pencil, you all have a little piece of paper. I appreciate if you just tell me one thing that you feel could be better, one issue. It can just be even a word. It doesn't have to get into detail as part of your evaluation. And afterwards, we have a little network break. What a great icebreaker to talk to your neighbor. Mention the issue which matters to you. Because if we want to start making a better world for ourselves, for our families, for our friends, we don't need to vote, we just need to use our voice.